we're not going to put too much stock in that. And really, that only serves as an appetizer for the second time that those two teams are going to face in round 2. But we'll see. They do have to deal with Fearex. We have seen teams at times underestimate their opponents to great success for their opponent.
Yeah.
And we'll see if that's the case here. I don't think that's gonna happen, but we gotta stay hopeful, Atlas.
I mean, that sort of happened against Gen G. That was when they sort of did some drafting that was drafting that we saw, and that was some drafting.
It was fun.
I don't even think that if they did that, they would lose in this series. Because Gen G are our second place team, right?
Well, like, hey, now they're first.
Yeah, exactly. They are first right now, but after the theoretical T1 victory, they would be our second place team. So I don't know whether it's a similar story. So Caitlyn going to be the final ban here. Ashe also taken away from Keria, and the Poppy removed from Oner. I actually think that these 3 bans are the way that you allow Henner and Execute to play some of the video game. I think you have to actually you have to ban all of these.
And you have to be one Kalista as well.
Yes.
Varus is obviously the pick that is coming to the forefront here. Orianna Varus, I think, doesn't really give anything away as to what you're going to be doing, while providing you with a really strong laning phase. Varus goes together with a ton of other AD carries. Yeah, no surprises there.
Yeah, Master Yi also makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I really do like the weapon triangle that we got going on as well, with T1 baiting KT, then KT beating Gen G, and obviously Gen G also beating T1. We'll see if that continues as we get deeper into the split.
Ooh.
As the Renata now... Execute on Renata is not a necessarily the best match. This is a man that we love for his engage reports and his, frankly, in a positive sense, unhinged level of engaging. We've seen him, flash in on people to try and handshake them level 1, 2. The match against KT comes to mind. And I don't know if that is going to be enough if he doesn't clean it up. But Renata Kalista is an incredibly strong 2v2. As the blind Aatrox, Zeus just gets the blind pick this, and they might ban top laners. They might also not, because he has been fine in every matchup that we've seen.
I don't know what you necessarily fear. Maybe you get rid of a Camille that we've seen do okay, but I don't know whether he'd be worried about it. Will be just Willa that will get targeted out, and I think with a bottom lane that could be this explosive, getting rid of some of the early ganking junglers would make a lot of sense. In fact, it could just be the Demacian duo that they do take away, unless Oner has his eyes on one of them. Of course, the Xin Zhao Orianna has been very strong. Is Hui going to be taken away? Hui?
Yeah, that's Barrel's legacy right there.
Right there, exactly. It's beautiful.
Fearex learned. I do think there are plenty of other things that Keria can play that do a similar thing. Obviously, the downside of Renata, and I think the Kalista alleviates it a little bit, but is that if you are playing into a poke lane, so you go Lethality Varus with a long-range support, then you don't really get nearly as much of the value as otherwise you would like. The Viego ban is interesting. I think that Willer is a pretty solid Viego, but I imagine that they're just looking to mitigate early snowballing and skirmishing, because already the T1 comp, when you get to mid to late game, is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with as the Zyra ban comes out as well.
I love this.
2 barrel bans!
They reached into the cauldron and they pulled out 2 of the things that were in there. I don't know whether they got all of the ingredients, it will be counterpicked theoretically. Could, of course, be the flex of the Rel into Keria's hands, but we'll see exactly what happens. What I want to see is a last pick Brand, and we still don't know.
Yeah, we still have no idea. I just saw Oner's face, and I think he's playing Rel.
Yes.
He's been pretty vocal about his dislike of the champion. And, it's his own fault. Shouldn't be good. Then you wouldn't have to play it. As Cassante gets locked in, unsurprisingly, is a pick that will allow Clear to hopefully do well. I don't think Zeus is going to have any issue in this matchup. Clear just going to try and maintain as much of a CS parity as possible. We're seeing some smiles. We'll see what the R5 support pick is. Is
it Bod? Big Bad Brad?
Could be. I think into Renata Kalista, though, it could be a little bit tough.
Ezreal.
Oh, Keria's like, I'll show you how it's done.
That's definitely an option. And look, we can't even question it. This is the thing that's frustrating.
It is. Yeah, okay. It is Varus. I was about to say it is Varus support, right? We're not seeing Ezreal support here.
What'd be wrong with Ezreal support? Ezreal support sounds great. Get that blood song working, you know.
At this point, I wouldn't even question it.
Yeah. I think Gumayusi is also a fantastic Ezreal. Oh no, we're doing it.
Oh,
okay.
No. Really? Because so again, what I want to reiterate, in theory, if you go lethality, Varus, and a poke support, Renata is not going to have a good time.
No.
And I think we're seeing the debut of Ezreal support. It's actually happening.
Yeah, it is. And I don't think any of us should be at all surprised, because I think all you need is champion that can do damage in bottom lane, and you can put on pressure. And also, why would you ever not have Gumayusi on Varus? His Varus is legendary.
That is a very good point.
So you just have to do it. I think it makes a whole host of sense. Well,
is it just spring 2023 again?
I mean, yeah. It's just spring T1. It's what they do. It's how it is. It might just fall flat on its face, but it hasn't yet. You know, when they just decide to pick X range champions in bottom lane and go, it's just kind of worked out.
I fear for solo queue, Atlas. This can't be good.
It certainly can't. At least if you are an AD carry and someone is hovering the Ezreal support, just play Karma or something, you know, just give into it. All right, let's jump onto the Rift for game number 1. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 1, FearX versus T1. We had a bit of an argument in the lobby getting into this game. Of course, it was blind pick, and we had both Gumayusi and Keria saying AD, and they were spamming it, and Guma thought that he said it first, so he just locked, and then Keria thought that he said it first, and so he locked, and...
that's why they both went Doran's Blade.
Yeah, that's why
there's a competition going now. Whoever gets
a game of chicken.
Yeah,
it's
whoever
a game
gets
of chicken.
the most CS gets to actually farm.
That's
the other person has to buy a World Atlas.
I mean, it's just a bit of it's an archaic strategy that has really lasted all the way until 2024 here in LCK. Yeah, blind pick kind of a dead thing now, even in the client. It's just it's weird that we're still doing it here, but whatever, it's fine.
I wonder at what point we're going to go fully into the... Because basically what's happening now is people are going Doran's items, and if you don't go Doran's, then your lane is so much weaker if you go World Atlas instead that you can't contest early, right? And a lot of these lanes are won very early on. In the level 1, as we're seeing already, extremely aggressive trading is going to come through here.
Yeah, Execute already ignited. Keria just pressing the button. The last time that this was played was Pumandu 4,000 days ago against Marta. All right, in
that was
Anivia. Yeah, against the Anivia support. Was this like the troll game?
I just can't believe that this was played. That's what boggles my mind.
Ezreal support.
Didn't have Ezreal at some point like an insane steroid he could give to other people?
His W used to be a heal and a steroid. Yeah. Essence Flux has gone through some changes.
A lot of versions.
Oh dear. Well, that's a good little throwback there.
But they can't even, like, I don't even know if they die to a gank here.
Well, Gumayusi, he might be in a little bit of trouble. Does have to heal. There's the flash forward from Henna as Keria is trying to get aggressive. Doesn't have the ignite, but just needs another auto attack. The flash forward from Execute does absolutely nothing. And now Keria is trying to pop off. He just needs one more, but he's not going to get there. It's a double for Willer in the end. And that definitely is a decent start for FearX.
All right, we have our answer. They do, in fact, go down. Beautiful gank there from Willer. And this is something that Gumayusi and Keria, I think, feeling confident because of the lead that they were able to build very early on. Not going to be enough. And really key where there was that Henna and Execute actually hit 2 the moment that the gank came through, right? So the moment that Willer shows up, they actually do hit level 2. They are able to actually engage onto this bot lane duo. And we have also seen that because they both died, neither of them has got a support item yet.
No.
We're still waiting. As we take another look here, this level up really, really well done. Henna then ensures that he gets on top of Guma, gets the slow. And unfortunately, Execute flashed there in an attempt to body block the Mystic shot, but unfortunately for his dual laner, just auto to get the kill nonetheless. But the damage was still done, I think, because Henna died, right? And with Henna dying, there is still a lot of CS that he was missing out on, as we can see here, as Keria just went for tier only. Yep, still waiting on the World Atlas.
Yeah, doesn't quite have that one built up. Just wants to, scale the mana first. That means more Mystic shots, more Arcane shifts. It feels much better. as this wave state, right in the middle of the lane, probably exactly where T1 want it, if they want to continue doing battle. But over an extended fight, Kalista is pretty powerful, as Willa will find himself a Q.
Yeah, he is 2-0.
Yeah, and he's getting very aggressive. Only going to have to move back. Shattering Strike going to connect there as he lands another Q. Execute getting poked out just a little bit, but this is perfect if FearX want to make this work, because getting Oner out of the bottom side of the map is what will allow Henner and Execute to lane.
Yeah, they need as much support as they can get. What I also want to highlight, we haven't really talked about this just yet, but Closer is actually going to be up about a full wave. This Karma has actually been doing a really good job of continuously maintaining laning pressure, and it has meant that Faker hasn't really been able to impact, and that Wheeler can also go for that invade like we just saw. And obviously, Karma should beat... I know Orianna's laning phase is really good, but even though Karma's win rate is abysmal, we have seen exactly why she's picked.
Oh, yeah.
Because her laning is rather silly. And if Closer can maintain that level of pressure, it might make it hard for T1 to actually utilize the power of this Orianna and Rell. At the same time, though, normally I would say that T1 are always happy to go into a team fighting situation, because I think Rell Ori is such a strong core, especially with an on-hit Varus as well. But the Ezreal does throw me off a little bit, because the value of that, I think, is very reliant on you being able to actually get a lead, right? In either terms of dragons, which obviously not going to be the case. They did trade for grubs, though.
Oh, Closer continuing to put Faker on Alicia in this lane. Finds himself the Mantrid Q, and Faker might actually be looking for a reset here. Does have a cannon, so might be able to, but instead deciding that he's just going to catch this wave as it heads towards his turret. Not too far behind and has a big wave stacked up, so not the end of the world. And it's a bit of a bide your time situation based on the rest of the map, is what it sort of feels like for me with a Karma and a Kalista. You're not going to have as much of that late game longevity. I have no idea how the Ezreal support theoretically scales and stuff like that. Normally, if you've got two 80 carries trying to do 80 carry things, it's bad news. But T1 have made it work many, many times, so I'm not going to doubt it. Still feels like Ezreal Aatrox in a team fight against a low-range champion seems like a good thing. Unless Execute can get an amazing ult.
On the flip side, though, there is Cassante.
True.
And he doesn't care about Ezreal. I know that for a fact. And we'll see if Keria is able to make his impact in team fights. His laning phase, though, thus far, looking good. And I really want to give some credit to FearX, even with the kill lead. They are going to lose some of the gold. We do see the pushing power come through here. And Zeus, I think, will still naturally build a decent lead here. He's going to force the teleport out from Keria to not lose too much, but not looking too bad. I think FearX really needed a solid bounce back after the Kwangdong series, which definitely wasn't the greatest. And so far in the early game, at least, they're matching T1 and looking pretty decent.
They certainly are. Working out very nicely. I think mostly on the back of Willa and what he's been able to get done. See whether he can continue to play as well as he has. As Zeus with the World Ender here. Clear has already gone all out. Does he actually have the damage to kill him? Oh, that was a beautiful interruption. But Clear is still fighting, gets the ward down, and Zeus will be solo killed by the young upstart.
And that is huge, because Clear has been struggling so much in the laning phase.
All right, and there is a kickback onto Gumayusi as well. Okay, never you mind. FearX, they are here to play today. And that is now a killing spree for Willa.
And normally, what T1 does, it's very clear. You win bot lane, you pick an oppressive laning phase, and then while that is happening, on the other end of the map, you have Zeus winning and generating leads by himself. Doesn't matter what the matchup is, the man has been our strongest top laner by a large margin. In this game, not only has Willa been able to shut down this bot lane as Closer.
There's a shockwave, and Closer, I think, is going to have to flash. He does. And so Oner going to be able to return and try and take advantage of that, but Closer still keeping himself alive.
Yeah, and as we were saying, so we take another look at this, it is really clear that I think has the confidence as well. I think a lot of players have struggled with finding these type of 1v1s against Zeus, and even with Zeus being able to interrupt, right, the W timing just not right there, Zeus predicting it with the flash Q1 sweet spot. But while that is happening on the other end of the map, Keria and Guma are still trying to create pressure, as they have to, I think, with this laning phase. And Wheeler punishes them yet again on this Lee.
Yeah. And it's also Gumayusi going for the on-hit Varus variety as well. I feel like you have a little bit less of that early game threat on the bottom side of the map, but you will have a little bit more longevity as you go throughout the game, and you can sort of rely on Keria to make up for it as far as the poke is concerned later on. But this is a game that is now... It's about T1 getting themselves in a better position where they can actually fight for a late game, but Willa has decided that he does not want late game to happen.
It's almost up.
Yep, he's just done with that, as we have the pullback already with that World Ender, and Willa's in melee range. He can kick whenever he likes. Oner will turn up though, gets the kick through. That was so sick from Willa, but now the distance is being created. He avoids the Q.
Closer.
And T1 are still here. They're going to need Closer to turn up, and there he is. Another kill for Willa and a flash out from Oner.
And FearX, a couple of days off, and the team looks unrecognizable. Clear on the Cassante, together with Willer, look for the gank. Zeus is able to outplay it initially. Oner shows up. And it looks like Fink might backfire, but then Closer, great timing. We'll have to pay for this with a play towards the mid lane, but it's still going to be very, very happy with that. And FearX actually building a lead here in terms of gold.
Yeah, looking really nice. Gumayusi Keria, knowing that there was a jungler on the top side of the map, things should be all right. As oh yeah, Keria going for the classic AP Ezreal.
Oh yeah, AP Sport Ezreal, of course.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Just has a better 2-item spike, and you're likely to only get to 2 items. I think that's the thinking. Actually, I have no idea. Just trying to guess, as Faker is going to get queued. Does take a lot of damage, has very little mana, so probably wants to go home. Teleport in hand, so isn't going to miss out on too much if he decides to do so. But instead, just going to stick around, wait for this one to crash. Try and get a bit of a reset. Some more plates on the verge of falling down here. A couple of autos, and Gumayusi will have that one. There it goes, with the help of the minions. So still able to stay within touching distance as far as gold is concerned. But FearX, they are off to the races this game.
Looking a lot better than was expected. And I think a lot of it does come from Closer on this Karma being able to generate so much pressure. Even with this pick not being that successful when it comes to winning, we have seen how obnoxious it can be in lane. And a lot of the losses were also into Senna, who I think does a really good job, especially when paired with a Nautilus, mitigate the poke that comes out in these mid-game fights. That's going to be 2 Drakes now and a Hextech possibility for FearX. And I think that we do see T1 still. This is by no means a lead that is impossible to come back from, right? We do have the plates still going overwhelmingly in their favor, particularly towards the bot side of the map and also towards top. We do have the gold still being pretty even. It is a nice lead, but not enough by itself as they go in.
X-Gates coming on over here as Oner will get queued. Faker moves over. And Gumayusi, he's caught by himself. The flash comes through as Execute is delivered towards the Varus, and he is just dead. Beautiful target selection here from FearX.
And I'm glad to see that Hannah is just as willing to be aggressive, because I bet you that was Execute calling for it. Flash in! Throw me in! Get me on top of that Varus. He's still waiting.
It was the Gimli quote, wasn't it?
Can you imagine how tilted you'd be as an AD carry if you just walk over again and you just get killed again? I don't know if Execute can actually do this.
Well, he's very alone.
Okay, but they don't know he's there.
Yeah, they don't. Oner is moving in as well.
Oh, okay, but no, they're covering for this. There's no way. Just back.
Yeah,
just backing. It's fine.
Gonna press
and they will never know.
Exactly.
It's a perfect. Well, it's not a perfect plan because it didn't work. But
yeah, it was definitely it was mitigated. The potential issues were mitigated. There we go. Goes back to base. Everything is fine. Neither here nor there. Keria with his Hextech cookie. Excited to see what it is going to turn into. This game continues. We'll still just be stacking the tier as per usual. Is it like the Seraph's variety, or do you just have to build Mirror Mana because it's so good on Ezreal?
I imagine you would, but maybe you just sit on tier and just never build anything out of it. I really don't know. I gotta
let him. Let's let him cook.
Let's see what Keria comes up with. Trust the player in that regard. As we take a look here, and credit to Willer, He has been very happy to experiment a lot, but it's easy to forget that there were times, last year especially, where this player was just genuinely beating really good junglers.
And especially in the early game. Like, this guy's aggressive pathing, early gank angles were very high risk, but when they worked, he was so good at just demolishing his opposition. As this was the pick onto Gumayusi, nowhere for him to go because T1 sort of scattered, right? And the pressure that was being put on by FearX in exactly the right spots in order to open the chance to pick off the Varus.
Yeah, this is the problem, right? In the even though they are going to be able to probably pick up this Herald, they're going to lose first turret block, which means gold lead that they have, it really isn't that big. And I think that the composition of FearX actually does really well until we get to the real later stages of the game.
Yep.
But mid-game teamfights with this composition still are going to be a nightmare. And
knockup has to flash out of there.
Yeah.
Good flash respect, because I think he was definitely dead unless he did that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or at least limping out with 10 health.
And you don't want Zeus to get a freebie back into this game. We've seen this player come back from these type of deficits. You know, the O2 power spike, I think originally coined by Nuguri.
Yes.
Way back is still very real.
Yep.
And giving him a kill would be rough. Is unfortunate, though, Closer not having his flash available. But on Karma, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world, as it is Horizon focused. So I imagine Keria is just going to be looking to just get as much of the W poke off as he possibly can and just go for big ults to start off team fights. And one thing we haven't really talked about yet, and we did see some hints of it there and might become a problem once we get to actual 5v5s, is that FearX, their engage is not good. They don't really have anything, so they need to be first to any objective, and once they are at the objective, they need to start in and force T1 to come into them, because if they're just sitting there, then I think the poke of Karma is going to be good. I don't know if that alone is enough to really make sure that T1 don't fight great angles this hand, huh?
Yeah, Keria not going to be caught shopping. And they have so much vision around here, though. FearX just knowing exactly what's going on. Another cancel should be able to come through here as Execute. Yep, gets the handshake, and Keria might even be in trouble. Has to flash to get himself out, and the Ignite still ticking. And that is, again, more punishment. And now it's going to take him even longer to get home, and now he does so without a flash. All right, Faker could be in trouble here. There is the Q, clear. Thinking about going for it. But Faker will just kite this one out for the moment. Not wanting to invest everything in making this happen is clear.
Still not a bad trade, though. If you can keep Faker down, you might have to base before he can actually TP in. And this Drake setting up Soul Point would be huge for FearX. Again, their composition, I think, falls off later down the line, but no signs of that right now, especially with how big Willer is.
Yeah, and I don't think it falls off if they get a Hextech Soul either.
No,
I think, like,
that'll be good.
Nothing will fall off at that point in time. And they're going to look for Soul Point. That should be a bit of a guarantee here.
Execute steals his ult.
Yeah, if Oner can get into the pit, then there is a high chance that he can steal things away, as now Zeus looking for a flank angle. Okay, dangerous times. Teleport coming in from clear as well. There's the Magnet Storm. Chains of Corruption going wide, but Zeus, he is in the Dragon Pit. Now he's out. Gets pushed away, and there is the Soul. Soul Point for Willer. Still, Zeus able to get a kill or two here, but now he has to deal with 4 people moving towards him. And FearX, they'll run over the fight, only losing Execute and securing the Drake.
And that's a 1-for-1 trade with you getting the objective. FearX going to be really, really happy with that. Hextech Soul now set up. Clear does a great job of zoning away the backline from T1, so no one can really follow up on Oner. Zeus gets a kill, yes, but that's all that he will get out of that.
I think the game-winning play for me, though, was Willer instantly kicking Zeus out of the pit.
Oh, that was lovely. Directly in range of Clear as well. It was like, hey.
They're like, Aatrox, do you want to be in amongst all of the people here? The answer is no. All right, Willer is going to get a bit of damage down onto Faker, demonstrating that he really does have a lot of money.
Might be the turret, though. You know, there's no teleport for Faker. He used it to teleport towards the fight, so that should get them the outer here.
All right, we're going to need T1 to find us some sort of answer here, because right now, this game has been, outside of, I guess, the early lane in bot lane, it's been all FearX ever since Willer got that first kill.
Really has been. A lot of poke coming down here from closer. And then the handshake as well. That alone is already kind of tough to deal with. And then we see the T1 backline trying to move forward, but so much time is bought by the hostile takeover. And then by the time that is timed out, Zeus has gone in, but Clear is keeping everyone away, doing his job as Cassante of standing there menacingly, and the opponents knowing that they can't really go past you. And we're seeing with the itemization as well, Clear is going really heavily into the armor. Gumayusi already hasn't had a great time in this game, and I think Orianna is really, really strong. Faker is still doing a good job in terms of gold, but not really going to be, even with the itemization of Clear, able to, in any fast enough pace, chew through this Cassante.
No, and he'll have a rook on the next item purchase.
He will.
And then it'll be impossible to do damage to him, as we have seen many, many times. But see whether there is going to be an answer, because it's Horizon Focus and the Malignant now completed for closer. And Showmaker demonstrated to us yesterday that you can do a team's worth of damage with only a couple of items like that. And we'll see whether Closer can do the same thing. He's had a bit of a quiet game, but is otherwise looking fine. As all right. Execute going to drive this one into the turret. He is committed, and now he is going to be face called. Thankfully, he can do that, but that is a big cooldown now unavailable.
Can't believe he would say he would commit, and then he just goes C1.
Yeah.
Just leaves them on red.
He's still committed to doing the headbutt on the turret. Just not any of the things that theoretically.
More was implied, Atlas.
Yeah. As Willer is fishing, gonna find the Q onto Keria. Neither is he. Knight's Vow now completed for Oner. And it's interesting, because I feel like in a game like this, I mean, it's T1. They are very, very good at picking themselves back up and then finding the intelligent fight to get themselves back into a game. I do think the tools for FearX, especially here at 21 minutes into this game, I think that if there's ever an honest 5v5, they just crush it, right?
Yeah, you need I think, significant outperformance of T1, and that's why you can notice, like, both of us are still like, let's see what happens when we get to the actual fight, right? Because I don't think that the back of T1 has been broken. If FearX, like, win a fight around mid, get themselves Baron or Soul, then I think we can really say that from that point on, T1 is going to need a miracle. What I do want to really highlight, though, regardless of the outcome of this game, while we are looking at it, like FearX, their early game, this is why we like the team. And this is something we didn't really see against Guangdong, so I do think it's a really good sign that they went back after that game, got together, and like, guys, we need to try and play around the early aggression, and specifically around our main man, Willer.
Exactly. And it's working out very well. And I think we're seeing some vintage Henna as well. We saw some aggressive flashes, right? I think he's on the same page as Execute a little bit more. We do remember those times where Henna was known for... Often we would criticize the level of aggression that he was doing.
I was a known Henna anti.
Yes, but that was because he would go way too aggressive and not really do anything, and it was the wrong time. It didn't make sense. This time, he's trying to curb it, and at least trying to still utilize it, because he was a bit muted, felt like, in the early weeks of this season.
All right, the poke needs to land here for T1.
Yeah, and Zeus needs to find that flank angle. See whether he can get himself in there, as Henna going to get jumped on here. Not going to get knocked up, though, by the second Q. And that is good news. So an honest fight. True Shot Barrage is going to connect there, as Willer now getting dissonance. Ignite is down as well. They're really trying to get rid of this Lee Sin from the fight so that he can't get into that backline and make things happen. Q's coming in, but a lot of this poke on the side of FearX isn't landing until now, where the handshake comes back in. But that is an Aatrox. I don't know whether you want that one, as the Magnustorm flies forward, and it's Gumayusi that blows him up, and now Zeus will just jump all over them, and that's a clean ace.
Clean ace! Baron's gonna be gone. Dragon no longer on the table. And that's why we were holding our breath, Atlas. And I think FearX should have held their breath, because the willingness there was great. The execution, unfortunately, was not.
Yeah, I don't know how much I enjoy the idea of the Aatrox being pulled
It's also
into
a
everyone.
flash handshake.
Yeah. Now, was there someone else that could have been the target when he went for it? No. Oh, and the... Okay. He did get kicked momentarily, but You just went straight into a massive Shockwave Magnet Storm combo. And they just got obliterated.
Yeah, and if you go for that, you need to guarantee that the target that you're killing actually is going to get 100 to 0. And the reality is with Aatrox, that's just never going to happen. And Oner was right there. We have seen instances of Aatroxes getting popped.
Yeah.
Not what people focus in, but that is when he's isolated, when he's on a flank angle. Not when he's standing there with the rest of his team. And unfortunately, I think that this is where we really see the difference between these two teams. As good as FearX, their early game was, they couldn't hold the bluff, right? You need to just, I think you just go towards Baron and start it up. And often we criticize teams that do that. But in this scenario, I actually think it's valid. It is also hard for T1 to reliably engage onto you. You need to force them to do something. And FearX wanting to be the team to pull the trigger. If XQ was playing Nautilus, that might have been a game-winning play. But instead, it probably is the end of the game, right? Like from this point onward, now T1 is going to siege. They're probably going to get at least an inhibitor. And they're going to take full control of the map. And FearX, I think, has a really tough time with this composition coming back from a deficit.
It's really rough. But I still think that if you are FearX, you should be very proud of what you did in the early stages of the game. I think most people would have written this off as a 2-0 for T1 straight out the gate. And I was starting to believe that FearX was going to make it all about them the entire time. It's now a 5,000 gold lead, so that is slipping away very quickly. But still, impressive start, just not quite enough.
Do not let the fact that they're down like 5k gold now distract you from the fact that they played a great early game.
Exactly, that's what I meant, yeah.
But I do also think that now it's not looking too hot for FearX.
Faker's going to shockwave the wave. Shock the wave. It was a shock wave. There we go, something like that. As this turret is going to be taken down, so there's a little bit back here for FearX. But they're not doing too much about this, which could just mean a gap in the base. You can see clear, he's electing to go back home. Faker could actually throw an orb in there if he would like to, and he does. So that means that that back will be stopped. Still, Willa gets back in time. He takes some Hex Gates around, and now some more items are going to be purchased. That Mirror Mana that we were talking about, now done for Keria. Decided that he still wanted to collect that. We've got three items for Gumayusi. He's literally one entire item above what Henna has. And they had the same shopping list.
And Gumayusi was 0-3. Like, he really got bullied this game.
Yeah.
Lee kept killing him. He's playing into Kalista Renata lane.
But he was always ahead in farm, so it never, like, and this was the thing. And the lanes were always doing well for T1, and it was just Willa that was trying to pull everyone along, and that meant that this snowball that we could sort of see and feel in this game wasn't as big as it could have otherwise been if these advantages Willa had have picked up for his team could have actually translated into those lanes having more power themselves. Which didn't happen. That is, of course, absolutely no shade to Willa in any way, shape, or form. It's just the sad reality.
I just wish that, you know, FearX had watched more of those high school movies that teach you about you just gotta be yourself. Give Execute an engage support, man! That's who he is!
It's true. And there's nothing wrong with some Kalista Alistair, you know? We saw that dominate earlier in the season. Just let him barrel.
Well, I don't know. Actually, that does make sense.
Yeah, just let him barrel, man. That's called living your best life. That wins you worlds the most times, you know, for a support. Oh dear. Well, FearX not out of it yet, right? It's 6,000 gold though. They still have Soul Point, and if they win that flip, there could certainly be an opportunity. Hextech Soul is still a huge deal. And maybe now we just don't group up for a Magnet Storm Shockwave. Don't pull in the Aatrox.
I know, but I think at this point, with the deficit, you basically need to be allowed to flip for the objective into Rel, which is very hard. Can kick her away, so maybe. And they are going to go for a heroic last stand. We'll see what they're able to actually get out of this. Grabbing the wave here on bot. At the very least, going to get themselves a turret. Closure does have TP.
Oh dear, there is not a lot of vision down here. As Keria just throwing Qs left, right, and center. Chains of Corruption onto Willa! And there is the Infernal Chains. It will be broken by Willa, though, as the Magnustorm comes in for the immediate kick. I just don't know whether it was the right choice.
Karma?
Fade's Call now coming in.
Wait!
Keria off to the side. They're taking so much damage as Zeus gets into melee range. And you know that's bad news. There goes Clear, and now it's whitewashed once again. T1 just tear them to shreds.
And that's gonna be the end of game number 1. The deep teleport from Closer on Karma, unfortunately not gonna be enough to turn the fight. Guma finds an ultimate on top of the Lee Sin. And now T1 gonna get themselves up 1-0. Keria played Ezreal. That did happen.
He did, and he has a win on Ezreal as well.
And that's what matters.
He's collecting all of the 80 carries, needs to try and get a win on all of them in the support role. As Willa wants to try and get in there and just distract them, but it looks like the Nexus turrets are on the minds of T1. Execute will be executed, and Willa, he's not going to find a way this time. Henna trying to defend, but this Nexus is going to go down, and T1, it looked a little bit dicey in the early game, but if you set up for